Party people. Whoa! What's up, party people? It's your boy, the neglectful ninja, MC Popsicle! Thank you. And today, I am super excited. We're talking to Donatello himself, Leaf Tilden from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 2. Also, I know I'm wearing Michelangelo stuff right now, but I didn't get to use it for my other video, and I'm gonna use it this time. Also, check out our sponsor, Radzilla Skateboards. They make incredible skateboards, the best in the world. And also, without further ado, check out this video. Hey, Mr. Tilden, how you doing?
I'm good. What's happening?
I've just been super excited about talking to you. There's a lot of very interesting stuff that I've been wondering about Ninja Turtles. I've been like watching all the movies. I watched them like back to back to back, and I really love them. I love them just as much now as I did, probably more than when I was a little kid. They're really incredible. Very cool.
Well, I think they were such a feat, to make. It was such a it's like it was a very weird time because, like, if you remember, it's like right at the end of sort of practical, puppets before they like went right into CGI, so, like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth sort of made this kind of stuff famous, or mechanical line, Yoda is a real puppet with mechanics to move the eyeballs, and the Ninja Turtles, when they made the early 90s, is right on the edge of where they just why are we doing this practically? We're just create a digital version, and that's like 10 years before, like I think it was like 2001, where they made this dramatic shift in filmmaking from film to digital, so it's a very strange time. It's kind of a miracle that those movies were made, so.
Yeah. I often wonder if that had not happened and they had put all that energy into puppets and like real life stuff, where we would be with like that kind of stuff now. If they'd put all that CGI energy into that type of thing,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's, I'm so old school with that. I just appreciate, there's just so many things you can't substitute organic performance. And like Frank Oz, who did Yoda, he's that Jim Henson, these puppeteers, just to name two, this because we're in the Muppet realm when we're talking the Ninja Turtles, because the Muppet, the Henson Creature Shop designed these turtles, right? So they had a big say into how they're performed and look and created. So in this realm of the Muppets, because there's a universe of puppetry, Banraku in Japan, and I mean, come on, like the history of puppets is not just the Muppets, but in this sort of round, this bubble of the Muppets, those talents like Jim Henson and Frank Oz, that's like Brando and James Dean, Yo-Yo Ma of puppetry is, Frank Oz, like that skill that he has to bring Yoda alive. I mean, you just can't replace it just with like making a digital version. I mean, there's something that's lost, and it's not saying anything like those people that are working in that world of CGI and creating digital characters, like those people are talented, I'm sure. What they're doing, it's kind of like comparing oils and acrylics, but the Yoda as an example, those characters in Dark Crystal, that's a skill, that's organic, that's performing, that's reacting, improvisation, breath, listening, awareness, mindfulness, that it's real, it's like, it's bringing something, just the art form of bringing an object to life. Just that process is magical, and it is completely different than some CGI art form. It's just, I'm not trying to say one is better than the other. I personally believe, I personally prefer something like of that nature. It's amazing hanging out with those puppeteers, they can bring anything to life. Those guys from Sesame Street, they just have this ability to pick up a plate and make you believe it's an elephant. Right. Like it's amazing what they do, and that talent is like it's almost magical. So I prefer that, and so the Ninja Turtles, I think, when we made those films, it was coming from that place. You have a puppeteer that's working the mouth and the eyes, and me, the performer inside the suit, and you're working with these other tandems. Michelangelo is a performer working with his puppeteer, and that puppeteer is working with my puppeteer, and I'm reacting with the guy that's playing Michelangelo, but we all have to work together as a foursome. And if you add two other turtles, now you have like 8 people, working together, listening, and and trying to create. It's just a moment on screen. It's a process. That's not just some guy or people in their room of computers and CGI programs. It's a different deal. It's a different deal. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
No, I agree. I mean, it's all like you're all parts of a one body trying to make everything work just right. And you did. Like, it's so crazy. That's one of the things I was going to ask you about is like, how do you project? So you're in the suit, you have.
But it's not just what we're doing. It's not just what we're doing. It's the environment we're in. And those guys that created the sewers, the guys that created those props, and the people that are giving us, ninja philosophy and ninja moves, and those filmmakers, the director and his direction of like how to move and where to hit your mark. And, it's such a collaborative, I've done movies where you have, where you're with just actors, and humans working with humans. And it's just, there's something unavoidably narcissistic about that type of work. Not to degrade it or something, but like in this kind of work, there's no narcissism because no one can see you. In fact, there's the opposite, like you're just dying to be seen, you're dying, you're just, you're kind of hungry and thirsty to just someone to hear you. And so you kind of, to survive, what you get off on is purely the collaboration of many, many people.
Right.
Now it's the cameraman, the people behind the camera are selling the idea that your Ninja Turtle is real with their camera angles. Everyone,
Right.
the people that design the sets are selling the idea that these Ninja Turtles are real. And how we walk along in the sewer, we're selling the idea that the sewer is real. And every aspect, it's just it's amazing. I think it was amazing because, especially at a young age that I was, is because it's such a great exercise for artists and actors, because it really is it is nothing about you. It's about it's about the act of creating and collaborating.
Right.
And it's almost like a quote that I love is like something it's what is it? I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, dance as if no one is watching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you're talking about making this movie just by yourself. It was kind of like, it has a sort of a feeling of that. You're when I was working on this, it's not about me, it's about it. There's something lonely about it. All these lonely artists that no one can see. The puppeteers are behind camera. We're in a suit. The production designer's not seen. It's just what he made that you're in. Everyone's unseen, and everyone's trying to make something that is seen. I don't know if that makes I'm sounding like I just smoked pot, but But you know what I mean? So it is such a very, it's a very artistic, and it's not the only, it's like, I'm not setting the Ninja Turtle movies apart from anything else. I mean, but I think it's in the realm, when I think of a genre, I don't think of these Marvel movies and these superhero movies. It's in the genre of that old school, like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and Never Ending Story. And, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah, it's more like an art project that's alive, basically.
Yeah.
Getting a look at all these people's strictly art, basically. It's almost like cartoon, not a cartoon, but like the art is on the screen like a cartoon. It's just the collection of all these different people gluing their art together.
And it's like, and there is no formula to this, right? I mean, it was very young. It was a very small window that this type of work happened, because then, the evolution of filmmaking sped up really fast in the 90s, where suddenly now, like, we don't have to do this. We can, they even stopped having real Yoda in the Star Wars movies, and suddenly, like, Yoda was digitized, and it was just like, look what happened in the Ninja Turtles. The last three, they're animated. We don't have to do it this way, but it was like, it wasn't like this type of work went back to the 20s. Like, it was like a 70s, 80s kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
It was a very small window. So there was no formula when how to do this. And that was exciting too, because when I landed in London for the first fittings, and then went to North Carolina to film this whole kind of energy is like, how are we going to do this? It was like all these questions, and we had all this rehearsal period where we were exploring, investigating. It wasn't like there wasn't a manual that we're just following. Nobody, the director, the cinematographer, we were all, the performers, the puppeteers, we were trying to figure it out together. And that, to me, was the most exciting thing about it, is this, how do we do this? How are we going to bring these characters to life? How are we going to tell this story? and the creature shop people that made these costumes, they're like these kind of, on the spectrum, puppet makers, like there's the genius kind of, and, they really passionate about, those guys that made those characters on Dark Crystal, those are super talented dudes and gals, and,
Yeah,
and,
no doubt.
they made like the first Batman suit with the ribs and the creature shop made the first Batman costume.
Really?
I knew that, yeah. And so, and like these guys are just amazing, and sculptors and idea realists. They take ideas and they make them so that you can touch them. They take an idea and they make it physical in the and they're just amazing. And this is just just an incredible sort of window into a particular type of art form that I was exposed to.
Yeah, it's so good. Those suits are so cool. Like I like to just look at them. Like they're just
but like so much work,
so
much
cool.
And sorry to cut you off, but like I totally remember what I was trying to say is like these guys in the creature shop that made these suits while we were filming, they were constantly, they just didn't make them and ship them off. They were with us and they were tweaking them and helping based on our performance and how it was being directed and how the story was being told. They were constantly tweaking the heads and the eyes and the suits, so that, the way we were bending our arms and our fingers, and they would tweak something else in there, paint it in a different way and shade it, so that everyone was constantly involved in the challenge of making these creatures believable.
Yeah.
It was immense amount of people involved. So when I give these interviews, we talk about, Ninja Turtles. Like I just think of the entire collaborative team that involved like 100 people. You know what I mean? So,
just the texture of them, like whatever. I guess it was silicone or whatever.
They called it neoprene.
Neoprene. It was very. It looked like squishy. Like I don't know. It looked how.
You know what exactly what it is?
Is like you want to squish it.
Well, it's exactly what it is what a Nerf football is made out of.
Really?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
It's like they use that. That's the chemical. That's that they use, and instead of putting it in a Nerf football mold, they put it in molds of these muscular arms and legs and when a Nerf football you get if you drop it in the pool, the weight of it is like it gets 10 times heavier. That's what would happen to us when we sweat into it.
Ooh, you were in the water too in some of the shots. I thought about that.
Were we in the water?
In part 2, in the very end when you're under the dock.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Were we actually in water though? I don't know. I forget.
You looked like you were. It seemed like you were. No, because y'all were floating, remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Was that a different kind of suit for that? Or
no, it was the same thing. Yeah, they didn't make like a, yeah.
Good grief. How did you get into that? How did you get this part? And how did they pick you?
I was asked to try out for it.
Why you?
Huh? What's that?
Why you? Like, did you have some sort of
abilities
with this type of stuff?
I should make a T-shirt that says "Why you." I guess it's because of my size, 5'4", and they wanted guys that had that height, so that was a prerequisite. I did a lot of physical performance doing experimental theater in New York and dance, and I loved, I sort of worshiped Buster Keaton, and I kind of had this, you know what I mean? So I had this sort of like, I had a lot of physical acting background behind me, so I'm just like a physical guy, period, so and when I was in my 20s, I had I had a lot of energy, but also like I collected comic books,
So you knew about this,
dude. Like my dad was giving me comic books. My mother died when I was like 7, and it was kind of traumatizing, and my dad would visit me at school and bring me a comic book and a sandwich. And this is 1971. So I was collecting comics in the early 70s. So you can imagine what my comic book collection was like,
Yeah, amazing. I collect that type of stuff too. So that, yeah.
So like, and I was a huge comic book. I was like a huge, I thought Iron Man should be a movie like in 1985, like I was, but I was disappointed with Iron Man, because when you remember like the original Iron Man, like he was an alcoholic, he was like,
right.
He was like Bukowski, like, it was more, those early comic books, it was dirtier, it was more gritty, and, but I think like with the Batman stuff, like they've gotten a little dark with it,
They're getting there.
They're getting there, but like, the guy, the boy, the Superman, his origin, like that was traumatized. Like he lost an entire planet, not just his mother and father. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just, if you think about it, those comic books were like, they were those early, startling, those comic books were intense for kids. You really are learning about life and stuff, So
yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Like that was a question I was going to ask you about, is if you had been knowing about the Ninja Turtles. It wasn't like a, what is this?
No, I was living in Chinatown. I was living in this loft in Chinatown on Canal Street, and on the same block that I was living was an underground comic book store. And in this underground comic book store, I discovered the Ninja Turtles before I even had a tryout for it. Like it was, I remember reading it. It was black and white. And the only thing red in the comic book was blood.
And the mask, right?
And the bandanas. They all had red bandanas.
Mm-hmm.
And they were vicious. They were like vigilantes, so I knew about it. And so my expectation of what this was about, but I remember like you don't get the whole script for the audition, you get
a piece,
like little 6 or 7 pages of some scenes, and when I first read it, I was like, oh, this is like extremely goofy, So, but and I was just, I think, I got lucky. So.
Yeah. What a bizarre thing to have such massive appeal. Do you ever think about that? How strange the Ninja Turtles are as an idea, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then that everybody loved them. And I love them, but it's just a strange idea that it got so big.
It's such a strange idea, but if it's like super creative,
Yeah.
like, like it's super creative. Like it's become something, we've come such a long way. There's such a distance between then when like it was so fresh and it just, hit the world's consciousness, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like it's, You know, it was just so, I couldn't believe I was, I mean, I remember, doing fittings and, where they're doing measurements and they're fitting like an arm on me, and they're, at the Henson Creature Shop in London, this amazing warehouse space. And I would just like look over my shoulder and there's Falcor's head from Neverending Story, and I'm just like, like, where am I? This is crazy, and, and like someone's like unpacking a Kermit in a tux out of a closet because they're going to have a photo shoot. I'm like, that's Kermit, and, it's just crazy. You're just meeting people like, oh, that's Jane. Who's Jane? Oh, she's the one that designed Miss Piggy. Oh, really? What?
Cool.
That kind of thing. And I remember when we were in North Carolina, and the first time that we were all together in the suits for the first time, without the heads, just the suits. And we were just going to have like some time, to sort of walk, to like be in character on like a wrestling mat and in this big sound stage. And they brought us each on our own like golf cart, and they dropped us off, and they left to get supplies or whatever. And I remember like just the four of us, they left us completely alone on this like wrestling mat in the middle of this sound stage. And I forgot, it was Josh or one of the guys like hit me. And he goes, "Did you feel that?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." And I hit him. And he goes, "I didn't feel that." And we just a brawl ensued, and we just started beating each other up and like, like just body slamming each other, and
I didn't think about that. Yeah, I guess you're in a big pad.
Yeah.
Hard
there really was like 2 inches of muscle tissue, and I remember thinking, oh, we're playing superheroes, like we're these Ninja Turtles. Like, this is out there. This is crazy, But then we destroyed the suits. I mean, they made like 12 of these suits per turtle, right? But these particular suits, because of this brawl that we were having, we just suddenly heard this like, "Stop!" We're like, huh? And chunks of foam are falling out of our, we like destroyed the suits and
Oh no. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What was it like as far as the suit? So you have however many people running everything and you're in the scene. What's like a scene like for you during the movie? Like what all is going on? What's the suit feel like? What are the machinations of it? Like what exactly is all going on during a scene?
All right, so there's one of the very first thing that I shot, right? It was with Michelangelo, and we're on the sewer waiting for the pizza, and I don't know if you remember that scene in the first movie, and it's like, "Nice night." Yeah. "Hey, Mikey, you ever think about, what Splinter said, blah, blah, like this and we're just sitting there, we're waiting for this pizza. And we rehearsed this thing, all day for like 3 days or something like that. And why that is because it's a very subtle, it's not just running around and high-fiving, like the very subtle thing, because the eyes are independent of my head that I'm moving, and you take for granted how your body works together just to a look to the left,
Right.
And a breath that you take and and like you hear something and you turn away to think about that response. And it's very subtle movements that you have to be together with your puppeteer on the line, speaking in unison, breathing in unison, looking in unison. So he's moving the eyeball. And inside the head, I can hear these servos. There's all these servos that are working the mouth. And, zzz, 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 and the eyeball, zzz, 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 and it's 360. They can do whatever they need to do with the eyeball. They can create different shapes with the lips. And the puppeteer has in one hand this like like how he operates a puppet with his hand that's automatically sending signals to my mouth. And with the other hand, he's got this joystick that's controlling the eyes. And I think even with like a button to blink, right? And I'm breathing and giving it life, and I'm turning my head subtly, and and Michelangelo, the guy Michelin Sisti, who's in this character, and his puppeteer are going through the same challenges, right? So it's the four of us with this very subtle, and I can hear servos. I have earphones on inside, and I can speak inside the head, the servos that are being operated, and we all can hear each other, right? Also in that grid is the director that can talk to us as well, right? So we have the four of us, the director, and we're all working together, going through the scene again and again and again. And it's amazing how, like, just, if the eyeball is behind just a millimeter, like, it's got to really hit, and as actors, we're coming up with choices, like, like that you take for granted if you don't have anything on, where it's like the character says something and you just want to think about it, and you like nod your head and you kind of look over there, and you're kind of making this choice where it's like looking inside your head for an answer. It's a very subtle kind of scene, and all that stuff we would just perform without anything, just with our head and our eyes and our. Yes, honey. When you coming back?
I'll be back at 7.
All right, cool. Because I'm going to dance.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll see you when you get back.
I take the card and then.
Take my card. Love you. Is everything all right? And so, you're performing this. Is that going to be in the show? That's hilarious.
No, I'll take it out.
So, and so you have so we all have to create, me and the puppeteer have to create this sort of choice that I have, just like as I am as a person, and put that into the mechanism of this Ninja Turtle. And they're doing the same thing. And then you have to throw in the element of just organic performing together. You know what I mean? Because like something happens when it's fresh and you're performing the scene, you might react in a way that's different just because it's an impulse that you've never had. Because as you're performing together and doing the scene, it grows and it evolves. And you come up with other ideas, and and then eventually you have to say, okay, this is what we're doing. And it's literally that scene, that's, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that. There's, I don't know, like 100 choices that we're making that we have to hit all together,
Right.
And that's just that scene. Right. So that to me is like the best way I can answer your question. It's like, we're on earphones, we're talking. It's like, headsets, and these servos are moving, and the puppeteer needs me to like hold a look so that he can adjust the joystick and get the mouth ready to say the line. It's like, it's amazing. We're just talking to each other constantly, and, and cut, and then it's like, game planning, like being in a huddle in a football game. Okay, you're going to do this and I'm going to do this and you're going to do this. And when you do this, I'll do this, but remember to do this, remember to hold, remember to breathe and stop here. And, like and you're going so fast. You're just like, because you're in that zone, and the director says, stop everybody. I need you, like when Misha says this line, the camera's going to move over here, and you're going to, like you're just, and that's just, and it's just like it's it's 10 times what just a regular actor does. Not to diminish, but because you're just having to do so many other things to make this character come alive and be emotional and be in a moment, you know, and listen to the other and react to the other person, you know, and you have all these servos
Right.
and headsets. You know, it's crazy. The process is like, it's so out there, you know.
It's like if you had to mechanically choose to make your heart beat and breathe, like all the automatic things your body does. If you had to sit there and think about each one of them.
It's a
all
great
the time.
great comparison, you know, like that's exactly what it is, you know. It's like it's intense, you know. And it's 120 degrees inside those things. You're sweating like crazy, you know. You know, you're surviving too. Like you're in a sauna doing this, you know. And the only thing that, I mean, the one thing that's propelling you, that's giving you adrenaline, is because you're enjoying it. You're performing, you're creating, you're being an artist. That's what keeps you going, you know. If you had to do this as punishment, it would
you die.
You know what I mean? Like it would just, you wouldn't survive, but you know, you're just like into it, you know. And when they do the playback after, and it's like, oh my God, we did that together. Like there's such a reward as you're going along too. And you're perfecting it. Like you're coming up with this. And that's the thing. Like we could have written a book on the technique of superforming and puppetry, you know, like we were developing the technique for all of this. We were creating a language of how to perform this kind of stuff, you know. It was amazing, you know. It was an incredible experience. When it ended, like after the first movie, in between the first movie and the second movie, I did a production of Waiting for Godot, this Samuel Beckett play at this big theater, with this renowned very serious experimental theater director, Joseph Chaikin. And I was playing Lucky, and I was playing like this 90-year-old man at the end of his rope, you know, literally has a noose around his neck, and had all this makeup and this scraggly wig. And I really could actually applied a lot of that work I was doing in this Ninja Turtle movie to this sort of, you know, this play, this very serious existential play about, you know, loneliness and silence, you know. And
right.
it you know, it was, and I would reflect on it like, you know, like, what am I doing? You know, like I have so much respect for people, you know, like I always wanted to meet Kevin Peter Hall, who did The Predator, you know, like.
I interviewed Ian White. He played the Predator in a few of the movies, actually.
Yeah, but the original guy is Kevin Peter Hall. And who was like 7'2", thin black guy, and he also was Harry and the Hendersons.
Yes, I was trying to find him, but he's not reachable.
He died of AIDS.
Well, no, I know.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know about that part. I knew he was dead.
He died of AIDS. Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah, and I never. Like when I was doing this work after the first movie, and it was because I did a lot more stuff after this. I did dinosaurs and I did gorillas and things like that. I really wanted to seek him out. You know what I mean? Because I really, you know, has such a respect. Because if you watch The Predator, the first Predator movie, he's amazing in that. He's amazing, and like sometimes he just stands there, and just the way he moves is like the choices he makes. If you just watch The Predator, that is an amazing performance. It really is, like uncanny. And the same actor did Harry in Harry and the Hendersons, like a goofy Sasquatch character. And if you watch Kevin Peter Hall's performance in Harry and the Hendersons, like just watch it. like just amazing physical comedic performances, sort of lanky, you know, like beautiful. It's like almost dance like, you know. And some of these, you know, like who played Gollum? Who's that guy? Who's that actor who played Gollum? What's his name? Come on. Oh, we're gonna kick ourselves because wonderful actor. Like he was in Planet of the Apes. Like he does motion capture of those characters, but he's amazing. You know.
Man, knew it. I knew it until the second you said that.
All right, wait, hold on. Oh my. Hold on. Andy Serkis.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Andy Serkis, like I have so much respect for him and his early work. I know he's doing other things now and he's working as an actor, you know, but like his motion capture work, his Gollum and in Planet of the Apes, it's amazing. Amazing. A wonderful physical performer. I just have, you know, you can go on and on and on. I mean, I look at Daniel Day-Lewis and he doesn't do that kind of work, but he's a very physical performer. One of the things I love watching Daniel Day-Lewis is how his body's, he's such a full body performance, like amazing, his characterizations, you know. It's like Stanislavski wrote this book called An Actor Prepares, and they talk a lot about the physical and the body, which they don't teach a lot of actors nowadays. It's all like, you know, the method and
right.
You know, Sandy Meisner, like, you know, just, you know, getting to a place of being authentic and raw listening and, you know, it's not mine. You know, I know actors who are like super intelligent. Like, so there's some actors who are just so smart. You know, like I knew Phil Hoffman, Sam Rockwell. There's these Billy Crudup. These are very smart people. Like they're highly intelligent creatures, you know. And they break down scripts, and a lot of actors, like they break down the script, they get the script and they break it down and they make like these intellectual choices, you know, like these choices based on, you know, and I think that a lot of acting, when I watch people that are very physical, you know, and doing the work myself, having my choices having to be physical. Because with the Ninja Turtles, it is physical. Like it's inside out. It starts with the body. And Let me
ask you this, because you're running into something that I wanted to ask you.
Go ahead.
So when you're playing Donatello, see, I'm colorblind, like nearly completely colorblind. So the masks don't help me that much because purple and blue are really similar and orange and red are really similar. So I'm having to look at their personalities to tell.
Are you really colorblind?
Yes, like very, very colorblind.
What's that color? What's that color behind you?
Well, I know this is green.
How do you know it's green?
Well, because I've been told that it's called green.
But you don't see green.
No, well, it's not like completely. It's a weird thing how it works, but. So you have these cones in your eyes that receive the colors. And if you're colorblind, some of them are broken. So your brain takes the ones that do work and glues them together and makes something out of what you have left. So what I see may not be similar to what anybody else sees, but it's not just like black and white, but it's hard to differentiate between different colors. If it's a solid color like this or like this, I can tell, but if it's
you'll never know though. You'll never know what I see and what you don't. You'll never know that.
Well, I actually got colored contacts so I could see colors, and I had those for a little while. So I got to like a weird version of it for a while, but they
like
were
a hearing
still
aid
prototype.
Yeah.
So there were some problems with it, but I got to see it for a while, and it's a lot different than I thought it was. But what I was going to say is through your performance, because I'm colorblind, that's the only way I could tell who Donatello was. And so how do you perform in that way to give a creature their personality? Like,
well, okay, that's an interesting question, because like I didn't approach it like that. Josh Pais, who played Raphael, he really wanted to distinguish, and he had a little head start because Raphael is like this angry, kind of rebel, and he really wanted to distinguish Raphael with sort of like a characterization.
right.
And if you look at that first movie, completely different person played Raphael in the second movie, and has a completely different physical. Raphael is completely different than the first Raphael. So if you really compare their performances, you will see what I'm talking about. Because you have a stunt guy playing Raphael in the second movie, and you have like a genuine actor playing Raphael in the first movie. Josh Pais is an amazing actor, amazing human being. Anyway, he approached it as like creating a characterization. I did not. I was just like in another head trip, like, I was all concerned about that that the turtle is perceived as alive. Like I would like itch my shoulder, adjust the thing. Like I was constantly filling it with to wipe my brow, or like I had sweat on me, and I could feel the sweat, like the turtle could feel this, you know what I mean? Like I was more concerned about like, and also that he's, powerful and, and that he has this weight to him and he's muscular. But I was more in like, how has he, if my elbow is on this chair, I know that I can feel my elbow. I can feel that. I have nerve endings. You know what I mean? As opposed to being inside a suit, I was always focusing on like where putting my nerve endings on the outside of its skin. Like I just took a lot of acid in college. So like, like I was more concerned with that kind of thing, where Josh, Misha was about giving him energy, Michelangelo, and Leo, Dave Foreman, who was playing Leonardo, he seemed to be sort of like wanting to, because he's Asian English kind of dude, and great, amazing. This guy, the guy who played Leonardo, is an amazing person too. Like everyone talks about the guy that plays Michelangelo, Misha. They interview him a lot. Josh, he's this actor, and he's a very successful actor now. No one talks about Dave Foreman, but Dave Foreman was one of my favorites because he's a stunt guy. And I remember like when I was first in London doing fittings, and they were like, oh, you go check this out. Like, what is this? This is a commercial that the Henson Creature Shop did for something. I forget what it was. And we had to do a polar bear running across a glacier. They made this polar bear suit. And Dave Foreman was in the polar bear suit. And I wish I had a copy of it. I don't have a copy of it, but I could have sworn that was a real polar bear. It wasn't like this goofy costume that you see on the Super Bowl commercials of a gorilla shaking a Coke can. Like it really looked like a freaking polar bear. It was amazing, and he had this very zen kind of quality about him. He was very still. There wasn't a lot of drama with David. He was just, David the man was just like this, he was just super chill. And so he was trying to give Leonardo this kind of super chill kind of, just he wasn't full of business. He would just fold his arms and just stare at you, and that was a great choice too. And because that really, if you watch Leonardo, there's a stillness about him. Michelangelo's kind of a goofy, lot of energy. I think Donatello is just sort of kind of like a neurotic. He just kind of, you know,
In his head.
in his head, and the guys playing Raphael is just kind of, hey, yo, you know, what's going on, man? You know, hey, bro, gang signs. You know, like it's just like, you know, like a street punk, and it's great. Josh's performance is great. So, that's a very long-winded answer to your
No, I'm
question.
so did you work with Brian Henson specifically?
Brian was there. Brian was directing second unit, and that was sort of, yeah, it's kind of the co-directing second unit, because there was like a stunt coordinator that was sort of involved with how to shoot angles with the fight sequences, you know. So it was like sort of like, I don't know if I think Brian just got the credit for second unit director, but there was a lot of people, like the whole second unit, like, was a whole other thing that we were involved in at times, because we were involved in some fight sequences. But
Were you fighting?
if we had dialogue, you know, but we had stunt doubles. Ernie Reyes Jr. was my stunt double. They brought in this skateboard guy to do the skateboard sequence.
That was a real skateboarder too, like a professional.
That was a real skateboarder, you know,
like a famous one. He's in the Tony Hawk games.
Yeah. Super. I never met him, but yeah, he was, you know, and yeah. So there was like you know, it wasn't just me, you know, there was like a lot of people involved, you know.
Yeah. So were there any major like issues with like the suits and stuff that y'all had to figure out during shooting? Like, was there something like this guy's face fell off, or like?
Well, I mean, first of all, okay, so the original, because there's a computer that was
in the
shell, and these cords that led to all the different servos in the head, right? And the battery for our headsets, and, you know, and there were so many cords in the very beginning. It was very hard to sort of like move your neck. So they streamlined that. I think like by the second movie, we didn't actually have cords. I think it was like wire signals that went to the servos, you know, something. But
cool.
So, yeah, there was that. You know, we tried cooling suits. NASA came up from Florida and introduced these cooling suits that they give the astronauts, and that was like a nightmare. Like, that did not, like, you know, like, I remember we put these cooling suits on, and then we put the Ninja Turtle suits over them. Yeah, and it was just like, it just made it hotter. And then, they couldn't they had to be plugged in to work. So we were like even more hot as we were working, and then we'd sit down and they'd like plug us in, and they'd shoot this like cold water through these tubes in the suits, like, and we would just like go, you know, like it was, you know, insane, you know, like that didn't work, you know. There was all kinds, you know. I mean, there's so many stories, you know, but yeah, they're constantly painting them and tweaking them and fixing them, and, you know.
So you said you'd collect comic books. Did you ever? Surely you got some of the action figures, right, from the movie?
Oh yeah.
You got some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I would. I do anyway, but
I've given I've either given or sold all of it. Like, I don't have any of it anymore.
You need some. That's if I had done what you had done, I would be like, I would just have all across my house.
It's funny. At one point I did. I mean, I had, when I left the first movie and when I left the second movie, I had a bundle of bow staffs. You know, some that we used just for rehearsals, some that were just on the shelves, some that we used in the movie, some, that we used in stunts, and they were like rubber. Like I had, bandanas. I had one of the skateboards. I had
What? You gave that stuff away?
some I sold in auction. Some I sold on eBay. Some I gave away. To make a wish.
Well, that's nice. But the rest is
This
unacceptable.
kid of a producer, I gave one thing away. I sold some other stuff. And the same thing with dinosaurs. I had, Robbie's jacket, sneakers.
Yeah.
But like, I don't have any of that stuff. I think I have the first movie poster from the first movie. I think that's all I have left.
Wow. So when I was
and the
knew that I was-
skateboard. I have the skateboard. I'll never get
That's
rid
cool.
of it. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
There's this company called NECA. Do you know who that is? They're a toy company.
No.
I believe they're relatively new, but they just came out with the movie Turtles, and they look exactly like the suits.
Oh,
Like, you
I
should
want
look-
one of those. I'm gonna get one of those.
You should.
How do you
So
spell that?
NECCA, and they
Oh,
have.
I'm gonna get on the website. NECCA, cool. Because that would be cool if it looks like the turtle that I was working with, and then that would be cool to have. Yeah.
It looks exactly like it. They have a 7-inch, and then they have like a fourth size of the entire suit. That's like this big, I believe, but it looks exactly the same. It
I'd
is
probably
so
get a
cool.
7-inch. Yeah.
They've got one, they've got two, and I think they're going to come out with the third movie. But they have definitely Secret of the Ooze and the original Ninja Turtles. It's really, really cool. But,
Nice. I like that.
But thank you very, very much for talking with me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. You're awesome.
I really enjoyed it. You are too. You're very interesting, and this is very, very cool to me because I'm a really big fan of the movies. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Where are you again?
New Orleans.
Oh, I was in New Orleans for Christmas. I was in the
Really?
French Quarter. My sister my sister and her husband have like a place in the French Quarter. They live in Houston, but they have a place in New Orleans. So we spent Christmas in New Orleans. It was like so freaking cold.
Yes, I know. I'm a MC for one of the clubs on Bourbon Street called Razoo, and like I have my own show.
Oh.
So I do my show about 4 nights a week, and then I do this type of stuff. So pretty fun stuff. And I'm an actor also. Like I've done a few things, but that's another reason I like to talk to people like you because I'm in the mass communication department for the Screen Actors Guild here.
Okay.
And so one thing that I always ask in closing is advice for new actors, because some of the people from the Screen Actors Guild watch this, and like, what advice do you have for new actors?
Well, I mean, I think the best advice I could give is, I lived with Sam Rockwell many times. We were like, we met on the first Ninja Turtle movie, and we just ended up being like best buds for the,
What was he doing? What was he doing in the Turtle? What was Sam Rockwell doing in there?
He was head thug number 2 or something. Head thug number 1.
What?
He's the guy that goes regular or menthol.
Huh?
You don't remember that?
I do. I didn't know that was him for some reason.
Sam Rockwell and Skeet Ulrich are in the opening sequence when they attack April.
What?
April O'Neil.
I had no
When
idea.
April O'Neil is mugged in the beginning?
Yeah.
That's Sam Rockwell and Skeet Ulrich.
I did not register that for some reason.
Well, you have to rewind it. Anyway, and Sam is like the genuine article. Like even back then, he was an actor. Like he was just in his blood. And the best advice, just observing him, that's all he wanted to do. He really, he's a best example that I can think of in terms of someone succeeding at what they want to do, is because he kept his eye on the prize, like all day, all night. He wanted to be an actor, and he did everything he could to, and like all day, like he would read every day. He would do something, not just one thing, but every day do something towards, not like the business of acting, not like go meet a casting director, like this. I think a lot of people just get like so crazy with like, I need an agent. I need, no, like he was reading plays. He carried this book, this copy of Hamlet with him all the time. He was going to plays, reading plays. He was always acting, like he was working on his craft every day, just like a musician does. Just like a musician picks up the guitar and they do their scales and they learn and they work on it and they work on it. And I think a lot of actors don't really work on their craft every day. And that's what he did. He worked out, he went to the gym. It was just in him. Like you could tell he was talking to himself, going over a scene from like some De Niro movie he saw, just like he was just wanted to be an actor. Like and he would just always want to be acting. He would do these small plays in New York. He would always be doing something towards his craft. And I think, like, for instance, Stephen King wrote this book about writing, and it's called On Writing. It's an amazing book. And he says in the book, the secret to writing is writing.
Yeah, do it.
It doesn't matter. Don't get precious about it. Even Stephen King says like 90% that I write is awful. Like don't be precious. Just keep doing it.
Right.
Don't get precious with it. Just make things, act. Do a character in the mirror every day. Do something. Like if that's really what you want to do, and that's the other point is like, is it really what if you're wanting to be an actor? Someone wants to be an actor. Do you really want to be an actor? Because I lived with a guy that really wanted to be an actor, Sam Rockwell. And believe me, he did. He authentically did, because that's all he wanted to do. He didn't veer off. He didn't care about having the new iPhone. He didn't care about anything else. He didn't care about clothes. He didn't care about shopping. He didn't care about Amazon. He didn't care about social media. He still doesn't. He just wanted to act. That's why he became a successful actor, because he put all his eggs in one basket. Like he wasn't distracted with the things that people get distracted with, with like having a new car, like all the that people get distracted with, get me included, what we're all guilty of, like he just wanted to be an actor and he did it, and it's like, that's my, here's, and he's not the only one. Like you hear like James Dean studying acting with like Lee Strasberg, and the class ended and he's still in class. He goes out in the street with his scene partner and they're doing the scene on the street, and they go to a diner and they're doing the scene at the diner. Like it doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like acting is not just in the class.
Right.
It's not just in your head dreaming about hopefully having a house on Lake Como like George Clooney. No, it's actually like doing it.
Right.
All the time.
You can read, you can watch, study people, you can, write
study
stuff.
People, watch movies, recreate the scene, watch people, talk to people, interact with people, be at the diner and go, hey man, what's going on? How you doing? Is that meatloaf good? Interact with characters,
Right.
like that, you know what I mean? Like read poetry, be, educate yourself, be a better human being, go to a therapist, have some self-awareness. If you don't know who you are, how are you going to play another person? You know, like all of that. Sam's been in therapy for 35, 40 years. He's had the same therapist, you know, like it's important. Like, know who you are, know what humanity is, know, you know, be mindful, take care of yourself, be healthy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, you want to be an actor? Then okay. How dedicated? My question to you is, how dedicated are you really?
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's really good.
Anyway.
I like that. Some of those things I have not really thought about before, what you said. So that was very interesting and good. I like it.
Who am I? Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm really glad that we could get together, and I've had a really good time talking
And
to
maybe
you.
we'll meet in person someday.
I would absolutely love that.
All right.
Let me know. if
And I
you're
want
in-
to see your movie when it's done. I want to see it.
Okay, you got it.
And
I'll
send me
send
the
you a
info
hat,
on
too.
your swag, because I'm going to get that hat. I'm
I'm
donating.
just going to give you one.
I'm going to donate towards your cause. You know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, man.
Have a good night. Get you some
All
dinner.
Peace
I'll
out.
see you later. Bye-bye.
And that's about it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Mr. Leaf. I really, really enjoyed talking to you. Also, guys, please follow MC Popsicle's World on Facebook. It really helps me out. And one last thing, check out a word from our other sponsors. Please check out Ramicus.com for all the MC Popsicle merchandise. We got buttons, shirts, phone cases, posters, everything. So make sure to get on over to Ramicus.com and get you something. Stop! Before you do anything else, check this out. This is a vintage 90s Ninja Turtle figure that was modeled after the turtles from the movie. I love it. And this is a newer turtle figure. I also love it. You should go to the Toy Stash on Instagram and follow them. They have vintage and new toys. And if you're a toy collector like me, you need to know about them. Follow them on Instagram right now. Another thing you need to do is check out Step On It Rugs on Instagram. They are insane. They made me an MC Popsicle rug. Anything you can imagine, they can make a rug for it. Hit them up. Also, shout out to my shoe sponsor, Solsfing. They make amazing future sneakers that are just bananas. Please follow them on Instagram. You will love their selection. And if you're thinking, hey, I want those sunglasses, and I want the sunglasses you wear in your movie Popsicle World, make sure to hit up Filthy Shades. Also, if you live on the Gulf Coast and need help with your pool or hot tub, hit up Emerald Coast Pools. They can fix everything and get you swimming again before you can say Baba Booey.